You like Donald Trump? Do you like Donald Trump? How about Donald Trump for a third term? That wasn't allowed in the U.S. Constitution before. Some folks are trying to change that. What do you think, y'all? I know what I think. Come find out. Stephen A. Smith Show in the house right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, I'd like to take a moment to thank my subscribers and followers. We've now eclipsed over 1.06 million subscribers, not to mention the millions of downloads we've had over the last few months on iHeartRadio. Can't thank y'all enough for the love and support. Keep it coming, and I'm going to keep on coming. To continue to like and follow the show, just click the bell to get notified for all of our new content, and you too shall be the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. And while you're doing that, make sure you pick up a copy of my New York Times best-selling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, now in paperback. Just go to straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. That's straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. Look, I got a lot of stuff to get into about Trump, about all of these executive orders, about the NFL, about All-Star Weekend in the NBA. The list goes on and on. Of course, my nephew Josh is coming on the show to irritate the living hell out of me, but that's a different subject till later. Right now, we're going to get started in the nation's capital, where President Trump continues to make headlines in his first few days in office. Trump signed at least 24 orders, many within hours of swearing in as the 47th president of the United States. The orders range, from a number of issues, including immigration, civil rights, and canceling DEI policies. We'll get into all that in a moment with my next guest, Elie Honig. But for now, I want to talk about a congressional resolution that could give President Trump, dare I say, a third term. One of Trump's top congressional allies, Tennessee Representative Andy Ogles, introduced the resolution last night. The amendment would say, quote, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than 3 times, nor be elected to any additional term after being elected to 2 consecutive terms. And no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice." End quote. So you see how they're being slick, right? What they're trying to say essentially is this, y'all. Trump, if he had gotten back-to-back terms, we wouldn't be trying to alter the Constitution of the United States. But because he left office in 2020 and it was interrupted by the Biden administration for 4 years, and now he's back in office, you should be allowed to get consecutive terms if that's something that you can pull it off. If you got consecutive terms, we ain't talking about a third term. But if you got booted out of office and then you're allowed to come back and you win because you win office, you should be allowed a third term. Here's my point to the conservatives out there. I thought y'all were always about what's in the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States of America talked about 2 terms. It didn't say more than 2. It didn't say back to back. It said 2 terms. So once again, here we are pointing out consistencies, hypocrisies, or whatever you want to call it. Now, I've gotten in the Democrats' backside over nonsense that they've done. You think I'm going to let y'all off the hook? I want to see how many Republicans are going to stand up and try to promote this. That's when people start mentioning words like authoritarian and oligarchies and stuff like that. That's when the comparisons to the Putins and others come into play. Because the stuff that's anti-American being proposed in America is being a part of the Constitution of the United States of America, when you damn well know, as y'all would say, that was not the intent of our forefathers. That's what y'all would say. That's what y'all would say. So I just wanted to point that out. But while I'm pointing that out, let me tell you, while many folks on the left are absolutely apoplectic over such a suggestion by Representative Ogles, and they say, here we go again. Donald Trump has already handed down about 26 executive orders in the first couple of days. Hell, Obama only did it 2 times. Biden did it 9. He handed out 26. And oh, by the way, not only did he do that, to show you, reading right from the Wall Street Journal, falling out of President Trump's good graces is an occupational hazard, all right? But this looks like a new low. President Donald Trump reportedly has ordered an end to security protection for 3 former advisors who are living under threat of assassination by Iran. John Bolton, longtime Iran hawk, who was Trump's national security advisor in 2018 and 2019. He said the Secret Service called him on Inauguration Day evening to give him the news. In the summer of 2022, the Justice Department charged a member of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps with planning to kill Mr. Bolton by attempting to, quote, pay individuals in the United States $300,000 to carry out the murder in Washington, D.C. or Maryland. Trump removed his security detail. That wasn't the only one. Former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. Trump also revoked his protection, along with his former Iran envoy, Brian Hook. 2 sources told the Associated Press Pompeo and Hook were told of the loss of protection on Wednesday and that it took effect at 11 p.m. that night. So not only did you tell them that the security detail was being revoked, you revoked it the same damn day. Didn't even give them time to hire a bodyguard or some security protection. It's like you're asking for them to be murdered. I mean, what are you doing? So you're doing that, right? This is what we have to look at. And I'm just saying to myself, oh my Lord, this is Donald Trump. This is the kind of chaos that I was talking about. Wasn't the only kind, but this is part of that. So I'm just looking at it right now and I'm just saying, how low will this man go? And that's where we are. With that being said, back to my original point. I'm not as upset about it as some of you might think. You want to know why? You want to know why? Y'all being slick. Because you talked about how it's not legal for anybody that served back-to-back terms. You get the note, you get the nugget in that language. Because I was going to say, that means Obama can run for a 3rd term. That's what I was going to say. President Barack Obama can run for a 3rd term then. But you notice how in the language in the proposal, you're talking about anybody who had back-to-back, so, administrations, serving 2 terms, back-to-back. You couldn't run for a 3rd term after that. You couldn't get a 3rd term at any point after that. So you notice how that language eliminates the possibility of Obama coming back to haunt him. Obama against Trump. I wonder what that would be like. I'm just asking. Obama against Trump. What would that have been like? You know how Trump likes to troll people? Dog them out and stuff like that? What if he had tried that with Obama? As smooth as Obama is. You see how the whole Trump dance, right? Remember that? He gonna outdance Obama? The sizzle and the pizzazz, the chemistry, the cachet that he has with some people. You think he was going to eclipse Obama with that? I don't know. All I'm trying to say is that when y'all mention a 3rd term, what came to my mind before I saw that language was, does that mean Obama could run for a 3rd term? Because what would that matchup be like? Anyway, time to move on and discuss other things. Joining me now to discuss the executive orders and what it all means for America is CNN legal analyst Elie Honig. Elie, how are you, buddy? How's everything going, man?
Great to see you, Stephen A. We are in by the way, a world's record has just been set. Donald Trump just set the record for most executive orders ever issued on Inauguration Day, 26 of them. So I know we're not going to go through all 26, but no president has ever come in on day one and issued 26 orders before. So happy to be here and help you walk through which ones are most important.
First day of his term in office, 26 executive orders. First of all, I think when you think about that, what alarms you most about that? What should alarm Americans most about such executive powers being exercised so early?
Well, I think broadly speaking, just the blunt exercise of executive force like that. I mean, look, obviously the president has a lot of power, but these EOs, executive orders, are always controversial. I mean, Barack Obama came under a lot of heat and criticism because he issued what turns out to be far less than Donald Trump. But people at the time said, well, he's trying to become a king. He's trying to just wave his magic scepter and make things happen. And now Donald Trump is doing that and then some. Now, executive orders, as we'll discuss, they're not necessarily bad or evil, and they have to go through a legal process. In fact, we're already seeing court cases on some. But what's clear to me is Donald Trump is taking office, and as promised, I guess, and true to form, right from day one, he is taking the position, I'm the president, I'm going to do what I please.
Let's get right into the weeds of some of these orders. Start with birthright citizenship. Trump wants to redefine birthright citizenship as defined by the 14th Amendment. The Trump order asserts that a child born in the United States is not a citizen if A, the mother does not have legal immigration status or is in the country legally but only temporarily, and B, the father is not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. The order also forbids U.S. agencies from issuing any document recognizing such a child as a citizen or accept any state document recognizing citizenship. This order is already being challenged in federal court. As you pointed out, break this down for us, Elie.
Yeah, so what Donald Trump is trying to do here really is reverse 150 years of American law. Under the 14th Amendment, passed in 1868, just after the Civil War, ratified, it says that any person who is born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction of the United States is a citizen. And just to make sure it was clear, Congress passed a law saying the same thing. And the U.S. Supreme Court had a case in 1898 where they said the same thing. What Trump is trying to do here is sort of change and really tweak the definition so that it does not apply to somebody who's here illegally and has children here. But that's just contrary to what it says in the Constitution. And not surprisingly, Stephen, just yesterday, a federal judge, so 2 days after Trump got sworn in, a federal judge said, hang on, and put this on what we called an injunction, meaning he put it on hold. And a couple things about what happened in court yesterday. One, the judge tore into the government lawyers for Trump. He said something like, this is one of the most ridiculous legal motions I've ever seen, that you're trying to change what birthright citizenship means. The other thing is, now, as I'm telling you this, you're probably thinking, oh, must be an Obama or a Biden appointee to the bench. No. Ronald Reagan appointed judge. Exactly. And this guy had no patience for, no credence to the argument Trump's lawyer was making at all.
That's actually a reason to be hopeful, because you've got somebody that was appointed by Ronald Reagan who is disagreeing with such a thing. That gives us, it reminds us of what our country is supposed to be about in terms of being a nation of laws. Let's go to the whole DEI issue. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Trump's executive order gives executive branch departments and agencies 60 days to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, including all chief diversity officer jobs. It also terminated a 60-year-old executive order setting anti-discrimination requirements for government agencies and contractors. Meanwhile, a separate memo effectively put all federal DEI officers on immediate leave pending their elimination. What do you make of this, Elie?
So, you know, Stephen, I'm not sure there's much that can be done about this in the courts, because here's the thing with executive orders. They apply to the executive branch of the federal government. So the president cannot issue an executive order that tells Congress what to do, tells the courts what to do, or really even tells the states what to do, although the feds can sort of control federal funding based on what the states do. But this, to me, is, whether you agree or disagree with the substance of it, what an executive order legally can do, which is say, okay, our new policy within the federal executive branch, that's all the agencies, White House, DOJ, EPA, on down the line, we are going to have DEI initiatives. We're not going to have DEI initiatives. So I don't know that there's much chance of upending that in court, but I will say, and you mentioned this, if the executive orders cross the line and start to discriminate against forbidden areas, race, gender, sex, that kind of thing, then we can get into court challenges. But just saying we're going to get rid of DEI officials, I'm sure someone will challenge it in court. And without getting into whether it's good or bad to have these things, I'm not sure that there's going to be a way to overcome that EO.
My issue with this, Elie, is that how they're trying to define DEI. They're trying to define DEI programs as basically handouts, and essentially we want to do away with all of that. And I'm like, they don't pay any attention to why it came into existence to begin with. I use examples like the Rooney Rule in the National Football League, or even affirmative action from the 60s. Yeah, you can lament its existence, but what provoked its existence? To me, that's never, ever been discussed, okay? That's where I'm at with it. Let me go on to the the subject of term limits because I know I couldn't wait to ask you about this one. One of President Donald Trump's top congressional allies, Tennessee Representative Andy Ogles, introduced a resolution last night that would allow the commander-in-chief a third term. What the hell is going on here, Elie?
I didn't even know that until you told me that. I guess you could see in my reaction. Yeah, look, this is a pipe dream. This is not, there is a way this could happen. It's called amending the U.S. Constitution, right? The Constitution limits presidents to 2 terms. If we are going to amend the Constitution, I guess you can add a third term. But the process to amend the Constitution, Stephen, is almost impossible. We last did it, by the way, in 1993. I think it's been a long time. You would need to get 2/3 of the House of Representatives, 2/3 of the Senate, and then 3/4 of the states. So 38 of the 50 states would then have to approve it. So this thing is DOA, dead on arrival, no chance. But Stephen, to your prior point also, understand a lot of what's happening with these EO executive orders, with these congressional movements, they're politics. I mean, some of these are symbolic. Some of them are specifically symbolic. We're going to change the names of what we call mountains or gulfs or whatever. But even something like birthright citizenship, I don't believe that Donald Trump believes he's going to win that. I don't know that he cares, though. I think he's trying to make a point here, have the fight, and say, you know, look, I wanted to do this for you, but the courts struck me down, stupid, mean courts. Yeah, so this third term is, I'm not going to bet on that happening.
Well, see, the thing that bugs me out about it, Elie, is this. Yeah. These are conservatives that are making this proposal. Who is dogged more than anybody else about us living according to the tenets of the Constitution? Wouldn't that be them? But our Constitution clearly calls for a 2-term limit, and nevertheless, here's a Republican representative trying to propose such a thing, which to me is just reeks of hypocrisy. Last one here would be the JFK, the RFK, and the MLK files. Trump signed an executive order that called for the release of all classified documents related to the assassinations of John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. Meanwhile, the family of MLK offered their response to President Trump's decision to release the files related to the assassination of the civil rights icon nearly 60 years ago. And here is a quote from the family. Today, our family has learned that President Trump has ordered the declassification of the remaining records pertaining to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert F. Kennedy, and our father, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. For us, the assassination of our father is a deeply personal loss that we have endured over the last 56 years. We hope to be provided the opportunity to review the files as a family prior to its public release. Elie, first of all, what do you make of this particular executive order calling for the release of these classified documents? And what's the reasoning behind it?
Well, first of all, legally, there's nothing that can be done to stop that. But I totally agree with you. If you're going to do this, you have to start with the families. You have to respect the wishes of the people who were murdered. I mean, their children and grandchildren are still with us. Second of all, you at least have to honor the request to let them see the files first. What's behind it? I mean, this is just something that I think Trump is doing, you know, out of populist instinct. People want to see it. People are going to see it. I don't think any of these files, by the way, are going to have some sort of, no pun intended, smoking gun that's going to change our view of what happened. But look, to me, you know, this is one of those things that's within the very, very broad powers of the presidency. Heck knows I would never do this. I would never want to do anything to upset the surviving families of an assassination. But, you know, look, the guy just won the election. This is within his purview.
I will say this, though. There's a lot of noise, and then you hear that there's something he wanted to do during his first term, but both the CIA and the FBI both discouraged him or tried to discourage him from doing so. So I'm wondering, what role does that play in his thinking? Could it expose something about the CIA? Could it expose something about the FBI? And is that what President Donald Trump wants in light of what he's had to deal with from his first term and since he's departed from office the last 4 years when it came to these agencies? I'm wondering what role that may have played in motivating him to want to do this.
Yeah, it could be. Look, the CIA and the FBI can certainly weigh in with the president and say, hey, you know, sir, we do not recommend this. But ultimately, it's Trump's choice. But you're right, Stephen. I mean, Donald Trump has adopted a very anti-law enforcement posture throughout his campaign, but especially, you know, the last several months. And he comes into office, and what's the first thing he does? He pardons all of the January 6th rioters. It seemed like he was maybe going to pardon the nonviolent people, comes in and pardons everyone with one fell swoop, even though J.D. Vance had said a couple of days before, obviously, he said, quote, you shouldn't pardon the violent people. But yeah, look, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's some sort of anti-law enforcement, what he would call the deep state type sentiment behind this move.
Let me transition to sports before I let you get on out of here, because I know I'm told you are a Philadelphia Eagles fan for the National Football League. First of all, is that true? And secondly, do you have them winning this weekend?
Very true. When I was a kid, I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, South Jersey, and I was all about the Phillies. I found the Eagles boring until, you're going to know what this is, until what happens in the mid 80s that makes everyone go, holy crap, this is exciting. What did the Eagles do?
Well, they went to the Super Bowl and lost in the early 80s or 1980 with Dick Vermeil coaching them. After that,
who was the guy who would have captured a 10-year-old's attention? Like, holy crap.
You talking about Randall Cunningham?
You got it.
Are you going to say Randall Cunningham?
When they drafted Randall Cunningham, all of a sudden I was in. I mean, I was riveted by it. Nobody was doing the things you remember. I mean, you were right. Nobody was doing the things this guy was doing. He was so spectacular. He had that Monday night game against the Giants where they knocked him down. And he still threw the TD. So I've been all in on the Eagles ever since then. Like any good Philly fan, I'm terrified beyond reason. So I guess I'm, I know they're favored by 6 points, 6.5 points, whatever. I get that rationally, but in our nature, we have to be pessimistic and nervous until it's over.
Well, you should be worried. That'd be a wise thing for you to do. This brother Jaden Daniels is no joke. He's no joke. I'm still picking the Eagles to win myself, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I'm telling you right now, this brother can make a difference. Make no mistake about it. Elie Honig, legal analyst for CNN right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on and taking time out of your busy schedule. All the best.
Appreciate it. Always great to be with you. Thanks.
All right. Coming up, he's set to fight next weekend in a match dubbed the Battle of the Unbeatens. David Benavidez, the Mexican monster, joins the show as he prepares to put his undefeated record on the line. That's ahead. But first, it's Championship Sunday. We'll break down the AFC Championship game between the Bills and the Chiefs and the NFC Championship game between the Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. All that and more up next right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Don't go away. All right, I need everyone to stop what you're doing and listen up. The AFC Championship is Sunday, and we're in smack dab in the middle of the NBA season. So with all that action going on, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you take advantage of it all. That's why we've partnered with PrizePicks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You see, with PrizePicks, you pick two or more of your favorite players, and then you simply select more or less on their projected stats for the game. Pick Patrick Mahomes' passing yards, Saquon Barkley's rushing yards, and Jason Tatum rebounds, all in the same entry. And get this, with PrizePicks Flex Friday, every member gets a protected play. That's right, you can cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. So download the app today and use the code SAS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Now, let's look at my picks for Sunday's AFC Championship game. First up, we have Bills wide receiver Khalil Shakir facing the Chiefs. More or less than 57.5 receiving yards. I'm going to go with more. I think Josh Allen's going to have a big game. He can't have a big game without Shakir doing his thing. So I'm going to go with more on this one. Next up, we've got Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, the future Hall of Famer. Travis Kelce, who was right here on this show a week ago. That Travis Kelce going up against the Buffalo Bills. More or less than 70.5 receiving yards. I'm going with more on this as well. Listen. This time of year is when Travis Kelce shines. The wideouts for the Kansas City Chiefs, they're but so reliable, but Travis Kelce is reliable. And you, Patrick Mahomes, particularly with teams being able to get to Patrick Mahomes to some degree, he got somebody to dump it off to. That would be a Travis Kelce. I say he's going to get more. Next up, we have Bills quarterback Josh Allen facing the Chiefs. More or less than 229.5 passing yards. I just told you the brother going to do work because he's going to need to, because he's going up against that dude, that three-time Super Bowl champion. There ain't no way in the hell the Bills got a chance if Josh Allen's going to go out there and throw for 125 yards or something. They ain't going to cut it. He going to have to do more, and he will. I believe he will in terms of yardage, more than 229.5. Finally, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes facing the Bills. More or less than 252.5 passing yards. I'm going with more as well. He's Patrick Mahomes. I just can't bet against him. I just can't. He just does what needs to be done in order to win. And I think in a game of this magnitude, with Josh Allen and the boys coming to town, he's going to need to pass for more than 252.5 passing yards in order for the Kansas City Chiefs to win and still go for their three-peat. So I say more. So let's review it right now, okay? Give it to me straight right now. You see all four. Khalil Shakir, rather, four, he's got more. Josh Allen, more. Travis Kelce, more. Patrick Mahomes, more. More across the board. That's how we like it when we doing work for PrizePicks. It just flows, y'all. It just flows. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show. Let's get into the NBA, specifically the All-Star Game, whose starters were named last night. In the East, the starters are Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and count them, two of my New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Okay, that's your Eastern Conference All-Star starters. In the West, the starters are LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Steph Curry. Okay, a couple of things right here, right? I have no issue with anybody in the East. Okay? I know that LaMelo Ball's been balling and stuff like that, but look, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns been balling, Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers and the way they've been looking and the way he's been looking to lead in them, of course. It should be no problems with that lineup. It should be no problems whatsoever, okay? So we got to look at that for what it is and stand down. The West is a little bit interesting. Let's go over those starters again. Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, and LeBron James. I think Victor Wembanyama should have been a starter. I think a legitimate argument can be made for Anthony Davis being a starter. And I think the combination of the two automatically should omit Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a superstar in this league. He's absolutely sensational. We know that. But he's missed 10 games. The Phoenix Suns are 10th in the play-in spot. Okay? And they're just not that great this year. He is, but they're not. When you look at the Los Angeles Lakers, yes, Anthony Davis should be in there, but I'm not going to dismiss that. The Lakers right now are the 5th seed. LeBron James is in his 22nd season at age 40 and balling. First of all, he has emeritus status, so you'd put him in there as a starter anyway, but he's playing worthy of being a starter. So I can't knock that. I can't remove him from the lineup. Okay? Anthony Davis should be in there. Victor Wembanyama should be in there, which means, because why? Victor Wembanyama is averaging 24 and 10. Shooting 35% from 3. 47% from the field, leading the league in blocks with 4 a game. And the Spurs are 2 wins away from matching last year's season total in wins. And they're about to do it before the All-Star break. Victor Wembanyama, to me, warrants consideration as a starter because of that reality. And Anthony Davis because of what he means to the Lakers. And the Lakers are a top 5 seed in the Western Conference right now. I think he should be in there. So to me, Kevin Durant should be coming off the bench. Now, for those of you who don't know, the reserves are chosen by the 30 coaches. The 14 reserves, 7 for each squad, are chosen by the 30 coaches in the league. They choose who the reserves are, okay? Fair enough. The starters, it's 3 voting groups determining the starters for the NBA All-Star Games. Fans take up 50% of the vote. NBA players, another 25%. The media, another 25%. And the reserves are chosen by the 30 coaches. Now, some would sit up there and say, what does it really matter? Because of the new format. Because the new format, you're talking about 24 All-Stars spread out amongst 3 different teams of 8 players. The winner of the Rising Stars game would be the 4th team for a bracketed tournament of sorts. That's what they're saying. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't give a shit. It's a waste of time. And because we know that all of this is about effort. If the players showed up and gave you the kind of effort they give you during the summer when they're working out with each other, if they did that for you, we're not even having this discussion. There's no format change. A format change, the reality of a format change is an embarrassment for the NBA because it shows that the players have to be incentivized for playing in front of the fans at All-Star Weekend. I'm done with it. I don't give a damn about this format. Not even a little bit. I had to read it to remember what the format was because I never cared about it to begin with. By the way, some people talk about Luka Doncic, even though he's had his slew of injuries this year. And, you know, once upon a time, the fans had him voted in as a starter. ladies and gentlemen, you can't have All-Star Weekend in San Francisco and Steph Curry's not starting. First of all, he's still great. Secondly, he deserves it. And third, that fan base would have went ballistic. You can't have that. Of course, Steph Curry got to be a starter. Can't you imagine announcing players and Steph Curry, of all people, ain't a starter in San Francisco? You lost your ever-loving mind? That wouldn't suffice. So we need to remember that. Of course, he has to be a starter. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I voted for him MVP last year. If I had a vote right now, he would receive my vote for MVP right now. I know that Jokic has had 5 straight triple doubles. I know Denver's coming on strong. I know that Jokic is a bad brother and a 3-time league MVP. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will get my vote again. Do y'all realize that Oklahoma City is winning games and Chet Holmgren has been out? And Hartenstein is out too? You realize that? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the truth and a half. This is the pick that Kawhi Leonard blackmailed the Clippers to get Paul George. They had to pay the farm. They had to give away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander along with picks. You got Paul George. He's now Philadelphia 76er. But Shai Gilgeous is still in Oklahoma City in the prime of his career, being top 2 for league MVP honors. That brother. This is what Kawhi Leonard hijacked and blackmailed the Clippers into doing. You don't do that. You don't do that what it takes to get Paul George here. I'm going to the Lakers. I'm sick of this. Those are my thoughts. I don't even want to. I'm so pissed off with these, not most, not all, but some of these cats, the NBA. I'm so pissed off, I don't even want to talk about it no more. Coming up, the Mexican monster himself, David Benavidez, joins the show as he prepares to put his undefeated record on the line against David Morrell Jr. That's next, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Don't go away. All right, everybody, listen up. With all the big-time sports action that's happening each and every day, NFL games, NBA games, and the college football playoffs, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure you are taking advantage of all of it. That's why we partnered with PrizePicks, the largest fantasy sports platform in all the land, to help you cash in on all your sports knowledge. You see, PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app where you pick 2 or more of your favorite players, and then you select more or less on their projected stats for the game. Choose from any of your favorite players, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all in the same entry. Then sit back and watch. The list is endless. And now with PrizePicks Flex Friday option, you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. That's right. Every Friday, just look for the protected play. So win or your cash back. And get this, PrizePicks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account during this sports season. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. So download the app today and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. My next guest is the interim WBC light heavyweight champion with a record of 29-0 with 24 KOs. He's set to take on WBA light heavyweight champion David Morrell Jr. in a match that has been dubbed the Battle of the Unbeatens. Please welcome the man affectionately known as the Mexican Monster, a man who, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best in the world, deserves any big fight that's out there. I'm talking about David Benavidez himself. What's going on, big time? How are you, man? How's everything?
I'm doing good, brother. Just right here, blessed. Counting down the days for next week.
Listen, man. I tell this to everybody that'll listen. Not that I'm breaking any news here. I consider you to be one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world. I think that you should be in major fights all the time because you're just that dude. I'm wondering, how hard is it for you to get motivated for fights, knowing there's so many big-time fights that you deserve and there's so many people hesitant to give it to you?
To be honest with you, it's not really that motivating. Not that really hard to stay motivated. You know, I'm at the end of the day, I want to be one of the greatest fighters of my generation when I retire. So every fight, you know, I'm coming in there with tremendous motivation. You know, there's a lot of fights out there that I feel like I deserve, but I feel like with time we'll get every single one of those fights.
When we're looking at David Morrell, I mean, I've seen the, you know, just the hypes, just the hyping of the fights before, you know, y'all standing face to face, promoting the fight and stuff like that. We say this a lot in terms of guys that don't seem to really like each other. Y'all definitely come across that way. Tell my audience what you know about this kid, what you think about this kid, and why you decided to get in the ring with him for this fight.
So David Morrell is a good fighter. You know, he has a really big amateur background from Cuba. He's a really technical fighter, skilled fighter. A lot of fighters, you know, were ducking him. They didn't want to fight him. But for me, being who I am, I said, hey, give me the hardest fight that's on the table. And that's how we landed on David Morrell. I think he's a good fighter, but I'm a great fighter. And I'm going to just go in there and show what level I'm on February 1st.
So what's all of this noise he's been talking smack to you? Do you think it's just a promotional thing, or does he seem to have some healthy level of dislike for you? What do you make of it?
You know, I just feel like, you know, it's two fighters that just don't like each other. You know, I don't like him. He doesn't like me. He thinks he could beat me. I know I could beat him. So, you know, it's just two fighters. You know, once it gets to the stage, you know, this type of thing happens. You know what I mean? Two fighters that really don't like each other are going to go in there and go to war on February 1st.
Listen, the guy is skilled. There's no doubt. He's got a lengthy amateur background. He is undefeated as well, but he only has 11 fights. And I'm wondering, what the hell is it do with 11 fights? How is he worthy of being in the ring with David Benavidez? How do you answer that to the viewers?
So the thing that I'm after the most is his WBA belt. You know, at the end of the day, the titles are still the title for me. And after this fight, this puts me in position to fight for all the belts at 175. You know, so for him, people saying he's inexperienced, you know, that really doesn't matter to me. He was the one calling me out. He's the one that said I was ducking him. So now he has to pay for all the words he says.
Talking to David Benavidez right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Where do you feel you are right now in your career? I mean, I've watched you beat Caleb Plant. I've watched you beat Demetrius Andrade. I thought that would be a tougher fight than it was made out to be by you, of course. A lot easier than I thought, along with others. And now you've got this fight. How do you view yourself in boxing at this particular moment in time?
To be honest with you, right now, I feel like I'm on the trajectory to greatness. You know, I've been telling everybody that I'm going to beat these fighters, and I've been showing that off with good performances. Now, after this fight, I'm going to be fighting for all the undisputed belts at 175. And like I said, I just want to be great. And that's exactly what I'm going to do by the time my career is done.
I marvel at you because, first of all, you got power in both hands. You got speed in both hands. Obviously, you're just elite. What shocks me about you is I look at you and I say sometimes I get scared for you because I'm like, he just keeps coming. I mean, it's like he's inviting you to hit him. It doesn't faze him. I've never seen you hurt. And I wonder, is that the wisest strategy you think it is for you to employ? It is the sport of boxing, and you got knockout power on both hands. You've got a tremendous jab. Whenever you want to use it, you can use it and use it effectively. Why do you find yourself taking punches sometimes when it's absolutely not necessary for you to do that because you got the skills to avoid getting hit?
To be honest with you, sometimes you got to put yourself in those situations where you're trying to get a counterpunch from the opponent. You know, because like I said, I like to go in there and I like to hurt people as much as possible. So I like to punch it between their punches. But sometimes, you know, I feel like my defense is a little bit underrated. You know, sometimes it may look like I get hit, but I don't really get hit that much. If you look at my stats, you know, my defense, you know, is amazing. I don't really get touched that much in my fights.
Gotcha. We can't talk to you without talking about Canelo Alvarez because that's the fight we all want to see. And it hasn't happened. We've been waiting for it to happen. Every time you go into the ring against somebody, you've got to win because one loss can prevent you from getting the match that we all know you want so badly. Why do you believe Canelo Alvarez refuses to fight you?
Because he knows that I'm the hardest fight. You know, he knows that once he steps in that ring with me, that all his accomplishments, all his titles, they're going to leave with me. I told you I'm not playing with nobody. I'm the best fighter in the world. And whoever it is, if it's Canelo, Artur Beterbiev, Bivol, I'm beating all those guys. Those guys don't stand a chance with me.
He has said that your constant provocations, your defiant language, etc., may have played a role in the decision to avoid a match with you, played a role in his decision to avoid a match with you. You keep talking, and he don't like the way you talk about him, and that's why he's not fighting you yet. What do you make of that?
Man, that's like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm not trying to be his friend. I'm trying to go in there and take all his accomplishments. At the end of the day, he knows what time it is. He knows what the hardest fight is, and that's why he's avoiding me. He can say all this and that, but at the end of the day, he knows that I will beat him when he gets in that ring with me. That's why he doesn't want to fight with me.
When you look at boxing today, one of the things I don't think anybody would deny about you, you give no one the impression that there is any fight whatsoever that you will avoid. You'll fight anybody. Some people say it's good business with the Canelos of the world and others, Mayweather before him and others, picking and choosing their fight because of the way the sport of boxing is run. And you got to pick your fights and make sure you can get the most money. You don't seem to be a guy that cares about any of that. Somebody talks smack and they want some, you're going to give it to them. That's the way you are now. If you found yourself from a popularity perspective where you ended up being in the position a Canelo Alvarez is in right now, how would you be different in terms of the fights that you pick to have?
You know, I was following the same path as my idols. You know what I mean? Oscar De La Hoya, Roy Jones Jr., Floyd Mayweather. I would just look for the best fights possible. You know, the fights the fans want to see. Because at the end of the day, the fight with me and Canelo is a fight that all the fans want to see. So if you're the man of the people, you're the champion, you're supposed to give the fans what they want to see. So if I'm in the position of Canelo, then I'm taking the hardest fights. I'm making my history, and I'm leaving with I'm not leaving no doubts that I'm the best fighter in the world.
Do you have yourself as the number one pound for pound fighter on the planet right now?
No, not right now. But after I win all the belts at 175, I will definitely be number one pound for pound.
Who do you have number one right now?
Usyk, Alexander Usyk.
Okay, you got him. That's a good choice. I can't deny that, especially after he just beat Fury. No doubt about that. So you get the belts at 175. What do you think that's going to do for you? Because you're moving up. I don't see anybody other than Benavidez. I don't see anybody elite at the light heavyweight position outside of you. So what would be next, assuming you win this fight with Morrell?
After this fight, the winner of this fight, which is going to be me, is going to fight the winner of Better Be and Bivol. So, you know, that's something that we've been working on for a long, long time. You know, I know this moment was going to get here. So after we beat David Morrell, we're going to become undisputed at 175.
Is it possible that doing that could get in the way of a future shot with Canelo because you've moved up to be a legitimate 175 and he'd like you, probably wouldn't want to fight at that weight? Could that be a potential excuse that gets in the way?
To be honest with you, I feel like what we could probably do something where we fight for the 168 titles and the 175 titles. I think that would be a great, that would be a great way to entice a fight with Canelo, because there'd be twice as much glory for the fight. And yeah, man, I think that would be great for the history of Mexican boxing.
I like that idea, no doubt. Before I let you get on out of here, how you gonna win this fight? Is it gonna be via knockout? What you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm gonna go in there. Like I said, I'm gonna put a beating on David Morrell. He's been talking a lot, so I'm gonna break his mouth and I'm gonna give him a reason to always remember David Benavidez. So I'm gonna go in there. I'm knocking David Morrell for sure.
Got you. I'm looking forward to it, my man. David Benavidez, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
My thanks to the one and only David Benavidez. Be sure to catch Benavidez versus Morrell Jr. live on PBC pay-per-view on Prime Video. Saturday, February 1st. Don't miss it. Listen, I don't miss David Benavidez fights. I just don't miss it because the brother's that gifted. No doubt about it. Anyway, I got to move on. Before I finish this segment, I got to transition back into the NFL because we got to get to my picks for Championship Sunday. We'll start with the early game in the NFC, where the Washington Commanders head to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Look, Jaden Daniels is just balling out. The brother's spectacular. McLaurin's no joke either. They run by committee. Their defense bends a lot but doesn't necessarily break. Dan Quinn is exceptionally coaching this team. Cliff Kingsbury is doing a hell of a job as an offensive coordinator. He's going to be a head coach again in the National Football League someday soon if he continues to do what he's been doing. Give props where props is due. But in the end, here's what this is coming down to. I think it's coming down to the Philadelphia Eagles defense. They're number one for a reason. And when you look at Vic Fangio and that defense and the way they get at you, I'm looking at Jaden Daniels, 17 games, 3,568 yards, 69% completion, 25 touchdown passes, just 9 interceptions, and he can run with the football. It's not going to be easy because he's a dual threat. But if anybody can handle it, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. And remember, when they lost to Washington in the beginning of the season, okay, let's remember something. Not the beginning of the season, near the end of the season. Jalen Hurts didn't play for a vast majority of the game because he got hurt. He got concussed in that game. Now, he got concussed on the design run. And you heard Coach Witt, the defensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, talking about how once he runs out of the pocket, we are going to treat him like a runner and we are going to hit him like a running back. So guess what? We concussed you a few weeks ago. Your leg is messed up right now. We're going to put a hat on you. That's what they're saying. They're giving him something to think about. I love that. I absolutely love that because it's within bounds. It's fair game. It's within the confines of football. Ain't a damn thing wrong with that. Let's get that out the way. Number one. Number two, Saquon Barkley. How can we mention the Philadelphia Eagles without mentioning him? Saquon Barkley's rushed for 2,000 yards, 2,005 to be exact. Saquon Barkley may have very well been a league MVP if he had ran the last game of the season for the New York Giants. Against the New York Giants, his old team. He was 101 yards shy of all-time single-season rushing record. And Nick Sirianni didn't let him do that. You better win this damn conference. You better get to the Super Bowl. You sacrifice Saquon Barkley and his MVP caliber season for that, you better win. You better get it done. So let's throw that out the way, okay? We got to do that. So having said all of that, Saquon Barkley running the football, A.J. Brown having some stuff to prove, Jalen Hurts knowing people are questioning him, Philadelphia Eagles being top-notch, and you being at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, as great as Jaden Daniels is, I believe Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this game, and they're going to go to the Super Bowl. In the AFC, the late game features a matchup of Josh Allen heading to Kansas City with the Buffalo Bills to take on the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. I love Josh Allen. I think he's great. I just don't think his team is that great. Now, one could easily say the same thing about the Kansas City Chiefs because, they got some question marks, but I got news for you. Patrick Mahomes is just the best in the world. He just is. He's the best on the planet. And Travis Kelce is that stud. I don't care what he did during the regular season. Didn't do much during the regular season last year either, but ended up with about 32 receptions for over 300 yards in the playoffs. I think that's the kind of thing that we're going to expect from a Travis Kelce. You got some weapons out there for the Kansas City Chiefs. You got Andy Reid coaching and calling plays. You got Spagnuolo handling the defensive side of the ball. They're at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. I'm looking at Buffalo last week. I understand you did what you needed to do because the objective is to win the game, but you ain't beating Patrick Mahomes throwing for 125 yards. Ain't going to happen. You're going to have to air it out. You're going to have to air it out, which means you got to get Amari Cooper involved. He can't have one target and 0 receptions, and you're going to beat Kansas City. I don't expect that to happen for a second week in a row to Amari Cooper. But I'm here to tell y'all right now, just so we are clear, this is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. Now, Josh Allen is 0-3 against him in the playoffs. Josh Allen, in terms of rushing and passing yards, 343 per game, 28 points per game in those 3 playoff games against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City that he has lost. Why did he lose? Because the defense gives up an average of 35. That's their problem. And I think it's going to be a problem again. I don't see how they're going to stop Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I really, really don't. I got Kansas City and the Philadelphia Eagles in a rematch for the Super Bowl. That's what I got going on. A rematch of the Super Bowl. That's what I see coming down the pike. I got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles going to New Orleans. Coming up, more on Championship Sunday with my nephew. I get exhausted just saying it because he's just that much of a pain. But y'all love him, so I'm bringing it back on. Nephew Josh up next with your boy in a minute. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. The NFC and AFC Championship games will be played this weekend. I'll obviously get into it in a little while, but first, I want to show y'all something we found on the Buffalo Bills social media handle. Good Lord, check this out.
It's going to be 22 degrees in Buffalo. Do people live here by choice?
Yes. Don't be rude to people in Buffalo.
4 degrees on Tuesday. What are you doing 4 degrees?
What that got to do with Sunday's football game, Josh? Josh.
We not finished yet.
agree.
They're a city of losers. They won nothing.
Now it's a city of winners. 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 People in this town are winners.
What that got to do with Sunday's football game, Josh?
This is Buffalo. This is what they have to deal with after the L.
Obviously, y'all know why I'm here, because he's here. My nephew Josh is in the house. I mean, I see you bopping to the beat and all of that stuff, but I gotta admit, Josh, they got you. You said they don't take the L and all of that stuff, and they won the game. So they decide to troll my little nephew. How you feeling, bro?
So they got me?
Well,
You ain't have nothing to do with that.
No. I mean, I don't.
It's your fault.
How's it mine?
They used your ball as a drop in the song. If you don't yell at me, they don't even have that.
Yeah, but you were the ones that picked against. You were the one that picked against them, and you chastised. Yeah, I have no recollection of that. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that whether I picked them or not is irrelevant. The point is, you attacked the city of Buffalo. You talked about who lives there, why live there. You said, what was there to do in 4-degree weather? You went beyond the game and started chastising them about their city, their town, their extracurricular activities, their recreational activities. You just threw the city of Buffalo under the bus. How does it feel to have them troll you and show you how wrong you were?
Well, I learned from the best. Don't you say you like being in Miami? You would cheer for the Heat to go to the finals over the Knicks depending on the weather.
That's true, and your point would be valid if they weren't playing Kansas City and they weren't playing Baltimore before that. But because it was Baltimore and Kansas City, that argument goes right out the window. It makes no sense.
See, my pick wasn't about the weather, though. My pick was about Lamar Jackson. I kind of want him to finish a great season, like anybody else. He's doing stuff to further his legacy. And then you lose in a game because somebody can't catch a pass. So once again, it's somebody else's fault. He has to take all of this heat from y'all, and I just feel him. I feel him.
Yeah, but before the game, you didn't bring up all of that. You brought up the weather. You brought up the town. Actually, the game was on Sunday, but you sat that like a wannabe meteorologist and gave the weather report for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And oh, by the way, Sunday's game is at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. They won't even be in Buffalo, so there was no reason for you to chastise the city the way that you did, but you did it anyway.
All I want to do is make sure Pat Mahomes, you got to finish the job. Lamar Jackson ain't do it. We after this GOAT thing. That's it. Now, Josh Allen, I'm all about being a better Josh. So I really can't have him win a whole Super Bowl and then compete.
No, I'm lost. I'm sorry. I apologize. I got distracted. Right. Did you say you all about being a better Josh? What would make you think you a better Josh than him right now? He's an all-world quarterback, a perennial all-pro, a candidate for league MVP honors in 3 of the last 5 years. Right. The brother's a stud. Yeah. He was always the better Josh.
No. You are at the top of this whole media thing, right? Didn't I tell you what Jaden Daniels was going to do? And what did you say? And what did Shannon say? And what did Ryan Clark say? Y'all make all these millions until it's we rich, but technically, y'all make all these millions. Why am I making the executive decisions and telling the fans what's going to happen and being right? I was 3 for 4.
You were 3 for 4?
Yeah, I was 3 for 4.
How were you 3 for 4? How were you 3 for 4? I don't recall you picking the Eagles. I don't recall you.
I did pick the Eagles.
You picked the. Did you pick C.J. Stroud? Did you pick C.J. Stroud?
C.J. who?
C.J. Stroud, damn it, for the Houston Texans. You didn't pick him.
He didn't even play last week.
Excuse me. Yes, he did.
Who they played?
The Kansas City Chiefs. Oh my Lord.
I did not pick C.J. Stroud though. I didn't pick C.J. Stroud. I told you Pat Mahomes don't lose early. Didn't I say that?
Yeah, you did. You did. You had 3 or 4.
I'm 3 for 4.
You had 3 for 4.
And everybody else is 2 for 4 because nobody picked.
Everybody else is 2 for 4. 2 for 4.
Pay me, please.
Pay you what? Because you guessed right for one weekend?
When we signed
so you
our
guessed
contract,
right for 1 week?
When we signed our contract, my portion should be a little bit more than what we had agreed to before.
You think you're entitled to my money?
When
you gonna work for it?
I did already. I made the show be right.
Because you gave a prediction.
The show was 3 for 4 because of me.
No, the show wasn't 3 for 4. You were. We giving it to you. We giving it to you. And then the second we put you up there, you supposed to be Mr. Meteorologist. You got everything wrong.
You know why? Because I didn't get it wrong. Because it is 4 degrees in Buffalo. It is cold, and people don't like living there. They said that in the comments.
But you know what? If they don't have anywhere to go, that means, you know, the lady's home with her husband or her boyfriend and stuff like that, because there ain't much places, ain't too many places to go, right?
Right.
So you're there, you can enjoy each other's company. How about that plus?
Nah, it was the plus. That's why I was telling you that I would run out of the stuff that, you know, we be getting from Cameron in New York.
Why are you wearing the Kansas City stuff right now? You're no Kansas City Chiefs fan?
I am. I will be Sunday.
Or just for Sunday? Where you get the jacket from?
New York, because New York is one of those places you can get any team. You can't go to.
Hold it. You went and bought that?
Yeah, we rich. You know what?
You went and bought that. You went and spent my money and bought that.
For your show. Yeah, my name ain't on. And that's another thing too. I was where's my graphic? I'm up here.
What would you want on the graphic?
Saying like.
Do you even know what you would want?
Minus the Steven and put JOSH.
Or you could put Josh. You could put the Josh Smith show. Everybody would think about the Atlanta Hawks. That's what they would think about. Josh
really?
Smith, former NBA player. That's what they would think about before they thought about you.
And when they think about Steve Smith, they would think about the other Atlanta Hawk guy too.
No, because he spelled it S-T-E-V-E, not P-H. I did that on purpose.
Well,
see that? That's called shutting your nephew up. That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. While he's shutting up, I got to take advantage of this moment. Goodbye, y'all. Goodbye.